Hey, how y'all doing? Let's do it to it. Okay. Actually, we can actually just go to our studies, and they've given us all the way to our move and reassess your chest. So let me see. Here you go. Add a new one. Vaseline Topolov versus Ivacek. I guess there's no date on this. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, sorry, missed that one. Okay, look at it from White's perspective. E4, E6, D4, D5. So we've actually entered into a type of French defense. Knight C3. This is if you have bishop to B4, you've entered the Winnier, and you could potentially enter the Tarash with F, knight F6, and then E5. And I think that's why they actually played. Excuse me. Yes, and they did. So then E5, knight FD7, and then always remember you have to break with C5 to get any compensation for white. This is the line when Simon Williams was a little younger. He said that this was the move that really got him kind of concerned when he played the classic, or basically the Tarash variation. So it's kind of it's some of his earlier ones on gingergm.com. He does the Killer French 1 and Killer French 2, and he explains how strong F4 is, but it can later on be undermined with a proper pawn sacrifice or a piece sacrifice. So it's not like unbeatable or unbreakable. It's just you have to know what you're doing with that. Knight c6. You just develop. You don't take because there's no real reason. Your opponent doesn't have c3 because the knight's on c3, so you have time actually to develop. You're wanting your opponent to actually take here so that you can play bishop takes, and you've developed a piece in one move. Excuse me. Nice. Bishop e3. This is preparing to take. Bishop, knight takes, and I still think it's okay. A6 here. What Black's going to try to do is pawn storm on the queen side and see if they can't get some attack going. A3. Now c takes d4 is a good idea, because the bishop has already moved, so it makes the bishop have to take, but actually the knight takes in this line. Bishop c5. Bishop e2. You could potentially play knight takes here, and then pawn takes, bishop takes, knight takes, and I'm not sure if white's better or worse here. I'm thinking white's actually slightly worse, because he now has to worry about the c and the d pawn that's going to be coming up the board, and black more likely will castle queenside, or kingside, sorry, and then play f6, and white's not in a good position. So I have a check, did not do that. He just played bishop to e2, trying to get himself castled first and foremost. Black castled here, and Topalov is preparing to basically now break with f6. This is kind of one of the ideas that you in the French have to be looking at. Queen d2. Ivacek's a really aggressive player, so what he potentially might be thinking of is castling queenside. Ivacek is, and then maybe just walking the king over to b1, and then at the right moment play g4, h5, or h4, g, and then h5 and pawn storm. Queen c7. Bishop f3. Knight takes d4. Bishop takes d4. Knight to b6. And like what we talked about, black recognized a potential attacking point on c4. So knight to e2. Bishop takes. Queen takes. And then bishop d7. And now the bishop surprisingly can come out and become a good piece for black. b3. Bishop b5, and I don't see where white has any more compensation. I'm almost thinking that did I miss something? Knight c5 or c3. I know you would, most players would be tempted to grab this pawn here, but way too aggressive because then you lose a knight. So there's no real reason that you could do that. So c takes would actually be a blunder here. Rook f c8. Knight takes b5. A takes b, and then bishop e2. This position is better for black, but that assessment might prove somewhat surprising for those players who notice the active bishop on e2. The weak doubled isolated pawns b5 and b7. And white's central kingside space advantage. However, black's not without his own perks, as he says. After all, he does have a queen side spatial plus, and his white's pawns on a3 and c2 are both weak and under pressure. So why doesn't black's position inspire confidence? That's what Jeremy Silman asks. The knights, it's horrible and superior to white's bishop. The knight, what we look at and say, well, the knight is so horrible compared to white's bishop. Look how powerful white's bishop is. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, is it really that bad of a piece? It doesn't see, and the white bishop doesn't seem in question. At a look, that knight might well make us accept this point of view. After all, the knight's forcing its queen to do a defensive job, defensive duty, and where is the thing going to go? Where is the knight going to go? Both a4 and c4 are covered, are poison, and that silly knight is not good. He says, kind of people would rave about how actually bad the knight was, and then basically say how bad the knight was again. I added that because anyone can basically complain about the problem of having this position as black, but few actually do anything to resolve the situation. It's clear that the knight is not a good piece at the present moment, but if you're black, then it's your piece and it's your responsibility to improve it a lot. A solution can be found only when you make the psychological transformation from I'm doomed to I must fix this. And sure enough, knowing that, the knight has no future on b6. So mixed with a positional and mental outlook, a positive mental outlook, makes the solution rather easy to find. And with that information that I read to you, I would like for you to see what would be the best position for the knight to move to. If you're saying, let's say you stopped it and you want to solve it for yourself, and then you're coming back or you're watching with us. If you said knight to d7, You are spot on 100%. That, give yourself an exclam and a pat on the back. The only knight move that doesn't give away a piece. How now the knight is no longer being eyed by the queen, and this means that black's lady is free to basically attack c2, and if the rook on a1 moves, the rook on a8 is free to grab the rook on a3. And if you were considering, let me see here, we'll just say castles. No, a bishop takes, sorry, bishop takes. F5, that's actually a double question mark. It loses immediately to queen takes c2. Also, queen a5 is a good move too, winning the undefended bishop. So the only way to handle both threats excuse me, sorry about that, didn't mean to cough in your ear. The only way to handle both threats is rook a2. The rook covers c2 and covers a3. But remember, when you start loading up pieces, you can overload them, so you got to be careful. He was saying that potentially bishop d3, knight c5, bishop e2, if castles, if instead castles, knight takes, c takes, and then queen to c3. This leaves white with the impossible task of having to defend d3, b3, and a3. There's no real way you can actually do that. Knight to a6, exclam. Why is it, I didn't give an exclam, there we go. Suddenly the knight is dancing all over the place. Bishop d3, queen a5 check. And if you were thinking of this move, this actually loses the piece on the pawn on the spot, because if you do that, then it's game, set, and match, and the king comes up and the queen grabs just so much material. So b4 is actually a blunder, and then knight takes b4 is a exclam. So a5 check. King e2. Knight c5. Rook a2. Knight takes d3. C takes d3, and then rook c3 here. b4. And queen c7 leaves no doubt about black's superiority. Let's see, move 24. If b4, queen a4, rook h c1, knight takes d3, c takes d3, and then rook to c2 check. And that's winning on the spot, because after rook takes, queen takes check, and just way too much material and too many weaknesses for white. There's actually 3 weaknesses that white has to worry about. Black played knight to b8, another exclam move. The knight actually eyes going to c5, c6. The once shunned knight is heading to c6, where it'll kick white's queen and simultaneously create a tactical base threat of knight to b4. Pawn push, and then this rook here will be under heavy fire because the a3 pawn is pinned. So castles, knight c6, queen d2, keeping an eye on the b4 pawn, since b4 actually queen c3 would actually lose instantly with knight to b4. And this, if the pawn tried taking, then the rook would take. That's kind of the best. And that's the tactical thing they were talking about. And so what happens is the queen now goes b6 check, exclam. What Ivacek is setting up is the ability for b4 to be played, potentially, and still have a similar idea for outposting of the knight. So here, and then the knight could come in and potentially outpost over on the king side via potentially here, here, and maybe later on into there. You never know. The knight's a tricky piece. An important he says a nuisance to white that pushes the king into the corner. This means that black's back rank threats appear in some later lines, and in many endgames the king is no longer close to the center at that point. So the king has to move to c1, and now queen to a5 is again another exclam move. Now at this present moment, it's surprisingly a really good move here, because of if the queen's traded and the rooks took, this pawn is still pinned to the knight or the rook. And so you could, in theory, if this happened, takes, rook takes, and let's say that the rook came over here to defend the pawn, or let's say actually, nope, let's say that he came over here to defend his brother, the other rook. You still have some problems. I'm thinking potentially at this point knight to d4 is almost devastating. So, but you're kind of forced. White's probably slightly relieved, but still. Now the threat, a threat like knight b4, knight d4, rook c to a1, a8, all aim at snapping the valuable pawn on a3 or c2. Either one of those, leaving black with all the chances. The rest of the game was married by time trouble, but the right player won in the end. So here's what happened. Rook a1. This is to keep. Now the rook isn't pinned anymore, or the pawn isn't pinned. Rook ca1 or c8. Rook a d1. Rook takes a3. Bishop takes b5. Knight b4. c4. Rook a8 to a5. f5, trying to open the center or the king side. He takes f5. Rook takes oh, whoa, hello. g4. Rook takes b3. G takes f5. Rook e3. Rook to b1. Knight d3. e6. d4. Bishop e8. Knight to c5. Bishop takes check. King f8. Pawn f6. G takes f6. Rook takes f6. King to e7. Rook to h6. d3. Rook takes h7. d2. Rook g1. Rook e1. Bishop h5. Check. King takes e6. Rook to g7. 94. Rook g6. King e5. And white resigned here. I was looking at this game with a friend of mine. He has a friend in Sinayam, and at this point he actually said out loud, "Whose minor piece is better now?" And he was joking. Whose? And that's the question. The knight, which once sat on b6 square, has made a remarkable metamorphosized in themselves to almost a winning, basically a winning position. You should know how you should now know knight basics, and you should be aware that if your knight isn't taking part in the battle, you have to somehow make it take part. This isn't easy, but it all starts from the awareness that one, there is a problem. Two, once you've addressed the problem, you must instead basically still on finding a solution to it, where we're talking about mixing knowledge, a sharp awareness of imbalances, and the willing to raise your game to a higher level. Our next example diagram, 32, and I'm going to see if I have time. I think I do for one more. Let me see. Yeah, we do. So we'll hit that one. Diagram 32 is a nice demonstration of the process of knowing well. Knowledge tells you that the knights are stronger on advanced squares, the 5th or 6th rank, being the most decisive, desirable for it. Awareness leads you to the fact that a knight c6 would be here. So I have to get another one set up, and we'll get it to this point. Hold on. Excuse me. So that otherwise you're not going to know what I see what I'm looking at, but you don't have the privilege to see it. So I'll get it set up for you, so that we can all be on the same board. All right. Knight f3, knight f6, g3, d5, bishop g2, e6, castles, knight bd2, d3, b6, c4, bishop b7, c takes d5, e takes d5, knight c3, bishop e7, and then e4 exclam, d takes e4, d takes e4, and then knight to c5. Okay. Let's draw. We're looking at knight on the 5th. R6 is strong. Awareness leads you to the fact that c6 would be a good hole for white to put their knight on. Black no longer has his light squared bishop to defend it, and after with a little bit of when we do a little bit over here, and the willpower is, wait a second, hold on, let me is this, am I missing something back here? Let me see. No. Oh, this is right. Sorry guys. And the bishop, okay, defend it, and the knight on f5 would also be further in your cap of looking at capturing it, basically. So the willpower is the thing that allows you to instill on turning these elements into something from a positional reality. The elements into some form of a positional reality. White has central right here. White has central pawn majority and an E pawn, giving him central space advantage. Black's king isn't castled yet, which gives White some opportunities that a castle king wouldn't offer him. For example, Black won't want to start a fight until he gets his king safe. Earlier I mentioned the potential hole on c6 and the nice outpost knight on f5. With all the information in mind, White's next move should make perfect sense. And what is White's next move here? You're White, and if you're watching this on a recording, stop right now and see what White's next move would be. Okay, now that you've had some time and you're joining us again, the knight to d4 exclam. The idea behind this move is it has a somewhat of a dual threat. One threat is e5, which would attack the bishop, therefore allowing the knight to occupy c6, knight c6, like what the idea was. That if we got e5 in, the bishop would take on g2, king would take on g2, and then White, if he got another move, would play knight to c6, attacking the dark square bishop and the queen at the same time, and that would be a wonderful outpost. So Black castles here. It says no thank you, and then e5 is played exclam. If f takes, if rather than castles, but f takes e4, this is a mistake. He says it's almost a crazy move that you wouldn't want to do. The king's not castled, and you've opened up a file for that. No. Knight takes, bishop takes e4. Bishop takes e4, knight takes e4. Rook e1. Knight f6. King e2. The game is already over at this point, because next to come is knight d c6, and it's game set match. And there's also if after bishop takes, if knight were to take, then rook e1, same problem arises even after this. You have queen e2. Oh, I see. Instead of taking rook e1, has the same type of problem. Hold on, let me see. No, that can't be right. After takes. No, that's if e4. Okay, knight takes. Instead of bishop, if knight takes here, then rook to e1. There we go. This is the move order. Yep, I just had it in the wrong spot. But e5 is a playable solution on that. Bishop takes g2. Perhaps black should have considered knight to d5, and then knight c. Knight to c6. Bishop takes c6. Knight takes d5. Bishop takes d5. Bishop takes d5, which gives white two active bishops in an open position. So if knight takes c3, this is a double question mark blunder. Knight takes d8. Knight takes d1, and then knight takes b7, and white is winning here because the bishop guards the knight. That would be winning. That's why black played bishop takes g2 instead and tried to hold on by the, as I like to say, the seat of their pants. King g2. Knight d5 is an important move. Knight c6. Jeremy Stillman says this is a Godzilla of a knight right here on c6. Knight takes c3. B takes c3. Queen e8. Queen d5. The c6 knight paralyzes black's army. He's far from basically game over, but such an unpleasant defensive task is not easy to deal with, and black fell apart very quickly. He went king h8, which was actually a mistake again. He could keep his disadvantage to a minimum with knight to a4, bishop d2, and then bishop c5, and hold on. Still he's holding on by his teeth basically. Bishop a3, f5, f4, rook g8, rook a d1, and then bishop f8. And then the knight, white knight played a marvelous move. It's like, whoa. It's a move that is a jaw dropper. Sorry, I couldn't say that right. It's just shocking, this move. What white actually played. Your knight is wonderfully placed. I'll give you a hint. but sometimes the knight must be moved again. So what would be the best knight move for white here? Stop it if you're watching this on a recording and try to find what would be the best knight move for white here, and then come back. That's the better way of learning, is for you trying to work it out yourself, and that will help you improve. Or if you just want to, relax, and you want to see it and you're more visual of a learner, then just hang in there with us, and you're more than willing. We're more than willing to have you uh, come along. And the move is knight to d8 exclam. If you've seen that, congratulations. That is incredible. A knight on the 8th. The critter rarely gets that far, and it's usually no big deal if they do. But here, the double threat of knight to f7 and queen takes a 8 is so powerful. So rook takes d8, queen takes d8, and then queen to a4. Bishop takes c5, bishop takes c5, queen d2, queen e4, check, and then rook f3. And I felt something tickle me there. So far, we've seen how a knight should be used, but how does one combat that basically troublesome knight? To do so, you'll need to know the following formula: anti-knight strategies. Knights lose a lot of their power if you take away and are deprived them of access points or outposts. All their advanced points. That's how knights. And so let's see how we're doing here. Perfect. 1 second. We'll do a 5-minute thing, and then probably gonna log off for the night. I'm a little tired today, but I wanted to get 2 games in. So 1 sec, I'll be right back. Hang in there. I'll be right back. All right. We're streaming again. Okay. Let's see here. Do a 5-minute. Oops. Oops. I thought trapping the queen would be a good idea there. Oh, really? That doesn't win anything? Let's give it another try. What did I miss here? Ah, the rook. Okay. Okay, we'll give it one more shot. Oh, drat. Missed the bishop take. Not good, not good. What? Are you serious? Wow. Okay, let's... Whoa. That was shocking. Gotta shake it off and keep moving forward. Oh, well, what's it? Hold on, we'll try it one more time. That one, I don't know how that one was wrong. That was really weird. That's this here that leads to me. Okay. That's what I wanted to play, but for some reason it said that I did it wrong. Let's give it one more shot. me see here. Thinking it's that. Ooh. um. Um. Ah. Okay, we'll keep it at this, and then let me see. What did I go wrong on this one? Did better this time. Ah, that there. And okay, that's what I forgot. That's what I missed. So that's not right. Ooh, there we go. I missed. That was right there. And then we'll do this one here. And then you take there, and basically you're gonna end up winning. But it's going to be interesting, to say the least. Okay. So we got 25. That's good. All right. Let's. I'm going to say a do on this. what we've learned from the How to Reassess Your Chess 4th edition today is we're going to do some wrap up. Is that knights, even though at the present moment, even if there's a bishop and the bishop looks slightly superior, not in an open game, but in semi-open type of game or semi-closed, you have to go with the punches. Realize that you're not always going to get the best end of the stick, as I like to say, and the way that you're going to improve is by learning how to make your pieces, the piece that's worse, better. And even like what Jeremy Silman says, chess is a team sport. So all your pieces have to be in their optimum placements. So just keep that in your forefront of knowledge that you're going to have to develop all your pieces. You may want to go for an attack early and attack the king and all this stuff. That's not going to win you a chess game. And what's gonna happen is your opponent's gonna um, stop your attack, develop, and then end up winning. And I don't want to see that happen to you. So if you come down to a knight, you have a knight and your opponent has a bishop, just remember, look for vital outposts for your knight and best squares that your knight can get to, and then optimize all your pieces. And that's kind of what we've learned from that. You should be right as rain to at least get a draw or a win in that. Okay. But as important as that is, choice is on the board, and the choice to receive the Lord Jesus as Lord and Savior of your life should be the number one importance, because chess is good, all this stuff is great, but when it comes down to it, we have to all decide one day, what are we going to do with the Lord Jesus? Are we going to accept him or reject him? And I pray that you accept him as Lord and Savior of your life, and receive him, because trust me, it's an important decision we have to all make. That's why in chess, when it like what they taught, like what Jeremy Suma talked about, when you have a knight versus a bishop, that's an important decision. Where you place your knight will determine if your knight will become active or passive. And that's where the team. That's what Bruce Lee was saying when he said, "Take what you know, and then being able to apply it, and be willing to do something with it." And remember that plateaus are part of learning. You're not always going to have this big whoop, acceleration. You know what? It's kind of the road of hard knocks, learning lessons sometimes. And there's a lot of teachers that say that you should make as many mistakes before the chess game, before the tournament, and learn from it. Like, even if you play the AI computer and you lose to that AI computer and you gave it your best, go over the game, find out what the computer, the engine saw that you didn't see, and then hone and work on that area that you're missing. If it's end game, let's say you did really well in the middle game and all of a sudden you you had, as I like to say, a mind dump there, and you just went blank on what to do, and you basically made a bad move. Your opponent forked your pieces like the engine did and basically won the game. Find out what caused that to happen and work on it. And that's what the Team Chess Cruncher motto is all about. It's about hanging up your coats, hanging up your hats, sitting down and studying when most won't. Team Chess Cruncher does, and that makes all the difference. And as Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless. And I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll keep pushing forward and doing good. Wanted to add two things. One thing, to treasure your victories. So always treasure your victories. I wanted to add this. But learn from your losses. And remember that it doesn't define, and the mistake doesn't define who you are. It's how you handle the mistake that defines who you are. So treasure your victories, learn from your losses, and remember this: mistakes does not define who you are. It's how you handle the mistake that does, as a chess player and a person in life. And then what Hannibal Smith said is 100% true. There is no randomness. There's always a plan in the position, and we just have to find the right move. And when we do, we get to say, I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, 2 thumbs up, hoorah, be blessed. I will see you tomorrow, and we'll continue to keep going over how to reassess your chess 4th edition and learn more and more and more so that we become better and better players. Okay, 2 thumbs up, hoorah. Go Team Chess Cruncher. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, team. Bye-bye.